The DC universe isn't just about men dressed as bats and men of steel and rogues like Joker, Lex Luthor and company. Oh no, my friends. DC has as good of female characters as any, especially when it comes to female villain. I mean, remember Granny Goodness and Miss Quinn? Well, it's time to shine the spotlight on the fierce, fabulous, and downright intimidating women who graced our screens in the iconic Superman, the animated series. These ladies brought a whole new level of villainy, wrapped in killer outfits, and sprinkled with a dash of "I will crush you like a pesky ant" attitude. So, fellow DC aficionados, hold on to your capes as we dive right in. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Stop. I'm just getting warmed up.
Volcana. Introduced in the episode Where There's Smoke, Claire Selton, aka Volcana, was a fiery teen with mind-boggling powers that let her ignite flames at will. Her folks were freaked out enough to ship her off to Metropolis Cinder for paranormal study, a hub for the weird and wonderful. They hoped that her daughter would learn to dial down the heat, but the government had a different playbook. They wiped her slate clean, slapped on the name Volcana, and tried to craft her into their personal flamethrower. Volcana wasn't up for any of it. She escaped and hit the streets, and lived off her wits. Thievery became a side hustle. In a heated moment trying to ditch Metropolis, she tussled with Superman, and then vanished into the shadow. Later, she dropped by her fence Donnie, only to be abducted again by Kurt and his crew, the same group who captured her in the first place. They dragged her to a secret lab and had plans to auction her off to another government that bid the highest to run their experiments on her and know the actual source of her powers. But Superman got a whiff of what was going down and crashed the party just in time. Volcana, in a fiery fit, tried to settle scores with Kurt, but accidentally hit the hydrogen tanks and sparked a big bang that knocked her off her feet. Superman flew in, cleared out the joint, and took Volcana off to an island getaway with the promise to airdrop snacks occasionally. She wasn't done yet though. Volcana came back for round 2 and had a powwow with Supergirl in the episode Unity. Spoiler alert, capes and fire don't mix well, but hey, at least Volcana's hair stayed fabulous. Volcana has an extraordinary ability to create flames on a whim. You can call her a walking inferno, as she can cloak herself in fire, hurl scorching blasts, and soar through the skies, all without a singe. However, she is not one without weakness. She needs oxygen to perform these fascinating feats. Trap her in a tight spot with no air, and her fiery prowess fizzles out and leaves her gasping for breath. Volcana may not have hogged the limelight like Harley Quinn or Livewire, but her debut in Superman the Animated Series is pure gold. Mala, the ace warrior and right hand to the power-hungry Jax-Ur, finds herself in a hot mess when his plot to seize the planet gets busted by Jor-El, Superman's father. At her trial, Jax-Ur took all the blame upon himself. They left Mala with a lighter stint in the Phantom Zone, just 20 years compared to his lifetime sentence, in a 2-part episode titled Blast from the Past, which takes place many years later. After Krypton's destruction, Superman stumbles upon the Phantom Zone projector stashed away in his old man's ancient spaceship. He reached out to Mala, peeks at her rap sheet, and figures she's done her time. So, feeling too generous, our Man of Steel releases Mala. She briefly joins Superman in his fight against crimes, but Mala's sense of justice was a bit too much for Superman's taste. Then Lex Luthor's anti-Kryptonian rants get to her, and she decides Superman's too soft. Her next move was to nab the projector, release Jax-Ur from his sentence, and shake things up. The Kryptonian duo had grand plans to knock Superman off and claim Earth as their own, but Superman, with his quick thinking, sent them back to the Phantom Zone. But that was not the last of them he had heard. Due to a rift in the Phantom Zone, Mala and Jax-Ur were back at their game. They found a new playground in a distant galaxy and turned a planet into a Krypton clone. At first glance, Jax-Ur played the part of a stellar leader, and the locals appeared all smiles. But Superman's gut told him something was off, and sure enough, a rebel from the ranks revealed these Kryptonians were nothing but space bullies, and were planning a hostile takeover of Earth. This leads Superman to fight Mala and Jax-Ur, but like every evil in the world comes to an end. Jax-Ur and Mala got sucked into a hungry black hole, never to be seen again. Soaking up Earth's sunny vibes, Mala got herself a full deck of Kryptonian superpowers. We are talking super strength and super speed. She could hear a pin drop miles away, see through walls, and shoot laser beams from her eye. Oh, And did I add flying to the list of superpowers? She nailed that too. If she was not deadly enough, Mala was skilled in combat and a fantastic fighter. That grit gave her the upper hand whenever she was in a fight with Superman and made her one tough cookie to crumble.
I want revenge! I want your life!
Livewire. Leslie Willis, Metropolis's infamous radio host, was well known for her Superman smack talk. She was the queen of controversy, always on air with a fresh rant against the Man of Steel. It was her career's 3rd anniversary, and despite a raging thunderstorm, Leslie was all concerts on. After all, who cares about safety warning? Superman, along with the cops, makes an entry to pull the plug on her party, but Leslie was not the one to quickly give up. Instead, she amped up the crowd against the Blue Boy Scout. But nature has its own script. Lightning strikes and sets the stage on fire. Literally, Superman quickly shoves Leslie out of harm's way. But as fate would have it, another lightning bolt strikes again, and this time hits a metal tower. The shockwave barrels through Superman, hits a wire, and Leslie, caught in its path, gets the shock of her life. In a flash, she's transformed. Her new look as electrifying as her new name, Livewire. She wakes up in a hospital bed and sees a newsflash that pins her shocking new look on Superman. Revenge sparks in her heart. She was not just Leslie anymore. She was a walking, talking electric storm. Slipping out of the hospital, she faces Superman, now as Livewire. She siphoned power from everything electric and hijacked the airwaves before making her way to a hydroelectric dam. But her comeback is short-circuited by Superman, with a well-timed splash of water that lands her back in the hospital. Later, in the episode Double Dose, Livewire joins forces with Parasite and aims to drain Superman's powers. But trust is thin. Parasite turns on her and uses her powers to kill Superman, only to be defeated at the hands of the caped hero. Livewire's got that spark. We know that, alright. Think of her as Metropolis's answer to Marvel's Electro. She can travel through power lines, commandeer gadgets left and right, and throw around lightning like it's nothing. She can fly and create her own energy field. But wait, here's the catch. She's gotta stay juiced up. You know, no charge, no show. And water, that's her kryptonite.
Watch me!
Maxima, the ruler of Almerac, wasn't your typical ruler. She cared more about finding a husband than governing her people. The fierce alien princess with flowing crimson hair was determined to make Superman her. Yep, you heard that right, Superman. So, Maxima traveled all the way to Earth, fueled by infatuation and a dash of obsession. And let me tell you, she didn't come empty-handed. Her alien DNA gifted her with strength that made the Hulk look like a wimpy kitten. When she met Superman, it was like a cosmic crash. 2 superpowered beings fighting it out in the skies. Sparks flew, buildings crumbled, and hearts raced. Maxima was convinced Superman was the one. Her superhuman abilities helped her overpower Superman, and she kidnapped and brought him back to Almerac. But back on her home planet, things weren't all cheerful. Maxima's absence had consequences. Her people were fed up with her husband-hunting escapade. They'd had enough of her neglecting royal duties for her love life. So while Maxima was busy planning her wedding with Superman, a sneaky suitor named Design seized power with the help of her trusted secretary, Sazu. Maxima, Superman, and Sazu found themselves in a dungeon. And guess what? Maxima's first instinct was to execute Sazu. But Superman, ever the voice of reason, stepped in. He reminded Maxima that ruling through fear wasn't the way to go. You can't force love, and you definitely can't force loyalty. The trio defeated Design, and Maxima was once again the warrior queen. Superman took his leave as Maxima watched him soar into the sky, a bittersweet ache in her heart. But not long enough. Lobo, the rowdiest, most foul-mouthed bounty hunter this side of the Milky Way, crashed into Maxima's place and wanted Design's head on a platter. Maxima's eyes gleamed with excitement. Forget Superman. Lobo was her new target, and nothing says romance like a good old-fashioned brawl. Maxima was at par with Superman when we talk about superhuman strength. When she first bumped into Superman, she displayed her psychokinesis and hypnotic mind control. She has both telekinetic and telepathic ability and can control the best minds in business. She can go toe-to-toe with almost anyone and can even overpower the Man of Steel himself. Remember she abducted him like she was stealing candies? She has superhuman speed and is lightning fast. With a flick of her mind, she can also create powerful beams and can transport herself across galaxies. But I really think she was not looking to pick a fight with Superman. Nope, she's got her eyes on a different prize. His Heartland was convinced that together, they'd have the most kick-butt kid in the universe.
Make her last moments special.
Granny Goodness and Female Fury, Lashina, Mad Harriet, Stompa, Bernadette. Granny Goodness might sound like she would bake you cookies and ask about your day, but don't let the name fool you. She was a nightmare and a fan-favorite lieutenant on Darkseid's crew. Mind you, there was no goodness in Granny Goodness. She had her own twisted version of a boot camp, where she molds kids into die-hard warriors, all fanatically loyal to Darkseid. She was the iron fist behind the Female Fury, a squad of superwomen dedicated to Darkseid, who rarely lost a fight. But Granny wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She clawed her way up from the dirt and started as a lowly. Before Darkseid spotted her potential, she even had a pet once, a dog named Mercy, but was told to kill it to prove her loyalty. Granny, instead of killing her pet, killed the messenger and argued her case like a boss. Darkseid, impressed by her moxie, put her loyalty to the ultimate test. Granny passed with flying color. Her reward was to run the show and train Darkseid's elite soldiers. That's how she became the heartless headmistress of Apocalypse, and proved that sometimes there's nothing scarier than a granny with a mission. In the animated series, Granny popped up in the episode Apocalypse Now, Part 1, and then again in Little Girl Lost, where she played the puppet master with some street kids and tried to rope them into her gang. But it's in the episode Legacy where she really made her mark and messed with Superman's head big time. She had him doing Darkseid's dirty work until he snapped out of it and used her brainwashing machine on her. Talk about a taste of her own medicine. On their own, the Female Furies might not make Superman break a sweat, but as a team, they are Darkseid's dream squad. Lashina's got whips that crackle with electricity. Mad Harriet sports claws that'd make Wolverine nod in respect. Stompa's got the kind of stomp that starts Tremor, and Bernadette had this mystical dagger, the Farron knife, made from Darkseid's himself, which can burn her enemies from the inside, and is said can kill gods. Under Granny Goodness's iron grip, these ladies are not to be taken lightly, not even by the Man of Steel himself. Roxy Rocket. Roxanne Sutton, aka Roxy Rocket, was once the go-to stunt double for silver screen heroine. She was a daredevil whose thrill-seeking stunts were the stuff of legend. Her fearless nature and love for the extreme hampered her career when she pushed the limits too far, and the insurance companies refused to cover her. When Hollywood lights dimmed for her, Roxanne turned to Gotham's shadow and embraced her inner villain as Roxy Rocket. Decked in leather, she zoomed through the city on her rocket bike and began pulling thefts and heists in broad daylight and right under everyone's noses. Her path crossed with Batman's at a high-profile heist, and she was eventually caught by the Dark Knight. As chaos reigned in Gotham with the Dark Knight missing, Roxy was sidelined by Gotham's more dangerous rogues, making a cameo in the nighttime episode of Superman, the animated series. Roxy then decides to try her hands in Metropolis, but is soon caught by Superman, but not before she drops a hint about Batman's mysterious absence. This sparked an unlikely alliance between Robin and the Man of Steel to uncover the truth. Roxy doesn't have superhuman tricks up her sleeve, but she's a wizard when it comes to somersaults and high-flying stunts. Her past life as a stunt double has left her with a tool belt of acrobatic moves that would make a circus star jealous. She was also the ace pilot of her very own rocket ride and knew enough mechanical know-how to make it work. Mercy Gray. Mercy's backstory is a bit of a mystery, but what's clear is her life took a 180 when Lex Luthor picked her up from the streets. She went from rags to a sharp chauffeur's getup and became Luthor's go-to gal for all things security and the occasional under-the-table job. She had a sharp tongue and an even sharper sense of loyalty to Lex. In the episode Brave New Metropolis, Lois Lane finds herself in a parallel metropolis where Mercy is running the show for Luthor's law enforcement squad. She led a raid on a rebel group and seized their kryptonite loot. When Luthor's plan to sideline Superman involves taking out Lois from the picture, he sends Mercy to pull the trigger. On their way, Lois snatched Mercy's gun and made a break for it. In the heart of LexCorp, Mercy was right in the middle of the action. When Lois and Superman squared off with Luthor, she went head-on with Lois. But surprisingly enough, Lois knocked Mercy out. As chaos erupted, rebels flooded the scene, which gave Mercy a chance to slip, while Superman pursued Luthor. In the gripping episode Ghost in the Machine, Mercy finds herself an unlikely ally to Superman, both on a mission to track down the elusive Luthor. Despite Superman's warnings, Mercy was dead set on proving her loyalty to Luthor. But after a clash with Brainiac, Mercy ended up trapped under debris. Luthor showed his true colors and left her while Superman stepped in to save the day. The world's finest episode turned up the heat when Mercy and Harley Quinn locked horns. The clash reached a fever pitch when Harley and Joker left Mercy bound to a rogue android targeting Batman and Superman. In the end, it was our heroes who came to the rescue. And as for Mercy, she got the last laugh as she watched Harley getting arrested on live TV. Mercy's fighting style was street-smart kickboxing and was the kind of scrapper you wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley. When it comes to weapons, she has a master's degree in mayhem and is ready to bring out the big guns. or any handheld weapon, really. Anything as long as it fired. Harley Quinn. Harleen Quinzel's tale began in the gloomy halls of Arkham Asylum, where she was a bright-eyed psychiatric resident. That was until she crossed paths with the Joker, Gotham's Prince of Chaos. She was smitten, and in a heartbeat, took a break from being a doctor to Harley Quinn, the Joker's ride-or-die sidekick. Now, let's talk about the world's finest episode. It was certainly a big deal in the superhero world. It was the first time Superman and Batman, two titans of the cape and cowl, joined forces. Because Joker was up to his old tricks. He had stolen a jade dragon and was stirring up trouble just outside Metropolis. After Harley takes down Lex Luthor's muscle, Mercy Graves, the Joker has a proposition for Luthor. Pay him $1 billion. And Superman gets a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Classic Joker, always with an ace up his sleeve. Luthor's eyebrow goes up when the Joker tells him that the jade dragon is pure kryptonite, Superman's Achilles heel. Luthor hired the Joker with the condition that his name remained under the wraps. The Joker then puts his plan into action. He kidnaps Lois to lure Superman to a LexCorp warehouse. Superman walked right into it, only to find that the Joker held half his kryptonite supplies. Although his kryptonite-proof suit kept him safe, but the Joker's acid trick ate right through it and left Superman hurt. Batman crashes the party just in time and smashes the kryptonite. He saves both Superman and Lois from a dire end. Meanwhile, Harley Quinn and Mercy Graves are fighting, which leaves them both looking like they went through hell and back. The Joker's last laugh ended with a bang and an explosion, while Harley was now in a straitjacket and back to Arkham. Harley Quinn's origin story doesn't begin with superpowers but a twist of fate and a dash of Poison Ivy's concoction that changed everything for her. She was now immune to toxins and boasted a physicality that was way off the charts. Her agility and strength were extraordinary and had a healing factor that kept her going, along with superhuman strength that could knock anyone out of his senses. She could leap like she's got springs in her boots. Her gymnastic prowess and agility made her a whirlwind in a fight. She was swinging her mallet like no big deal to her, but more than just muscle and acrobatics. Harley was a chameleon who could slip into elaborate disguises to outsmart her targets any day without even raising a finger. Talia al Ghul. Talia was the fierce daughter of Ra's al Ghul, a supervillain. On a mission to save her dad's life, she and her crew pull off a daring heist on a train loaded with precious artifacts. Superman showed up to spoil the fun, but Talia was quick on her feet. She grabbed a mystical staff and blew up a bridge, which left Superman to deal with a runaway train while she made a cheeky exit. Disguised as Lois Lane, Talia sets a trap for Superman, who, ever the hero, swooped in for the save. Mid-air, she dropped the act and flashed a mischievous smile and a sorry not sorry for the ruse. She wanted Superman to meet dear old dad. However, when Superman wasn't keen on the family reunion, she knocked him out with the staff. She planned to transfer Superman's strength to her dying father. Superman was almost successful in making an escape, but his plans were thwarted by the unrelenting daughter. When Ra's kicks the bucket, she is not ready to let go yet. She pushed on, and voila, Ra's was back, thanks to Superman's powers. But Batman intervened and rescued Superman from the brink. But a power-crazed Ra's goes berserk and causes the caves they were in to collapse. Talia nearly falls off the cliff when Superman reminds Ra's that he can either choose to save his daughter's life or finish off the hero. Ra's was torn, but in the end, he reached for Talia, but it was a second too late. They plunge into the river, and despite a thorough search, Batman and Superman come up empty. Talia and Ra's were gone, without a trace. Talia might walk among us like any other person, but she had a mind that was as sharp as a tack, all thanks to her dear old dad, Ra's al Ghul. But she was not just book smart either. Talia can fight it out with the best of them, whether it is hand-to-hand or with the latest weaponry. She was a tactical genius, from heists to high-stakes espionage, you name it. What really sets Talia al Ghul apart is her blend of brains, brawn, and the kind of street smarts that come from a lifetime of playing the villain. And that's what makes her one of the most badass ladies in the world of heroes and villains. No capes needed, just pure skill and smarts. Marvelous verdict. Wrapping up the rogues gallery of femme fatales in Superman the Animated Series, it's clear by now that these ladies are not to be underestimated. Never. They are complex characters with backstories that are as compelling as they are cruel. Take Talia al Ghul, the brainy beauty with moves deadlier than kryptonite, and a mind like a labyrinth of strategy and sinew. Then there's Granny Goodness, a name that drips with irony, and her maternal touch as comforting as a bed of nails. Each villainess brings her own brand of chaos and challenge to the Man of Steel. These characters prove that power and villainy aren't just a man's game. So when the sun sets on Superman's city, remember, it's their cunning, their chaos, their unbridled power that keeps the night interesting. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, you! Loser.